We go, just waiting and waiting. We are on, baby. Let's go. Hey guys, how you going? So today on BKRsport, we're here for the ultimate conclusion of our tipping videos for this year of the final game of the NRL season, and it is the NRL Grand Final. Obviously, last night we were here on stream actually for the Dally M's when Tommy Trbojevic from Manly Seagulls obviously won the best player in 2021, and now we're about to find out who the best team is in 2021. Now, the Manly Seagulls, they're not here. It is the Panthers going up against the Rabbitohs, but gee whiz, I'm happy that we're going to find out who's going to win this year, but I'm also sad because I'm like, gee whiz, what are we going to do for the next 6 months? Obviously, on this channel, we do have a heap of different sports, and we do have a heap of content coming towards you guys regardless, but in the same sense, it's a bit of, it's a bit sad at the same sense, but guys, obviously how this tipping stream is going to go, I'm going to be going through all of the stats that I possibly can. I'm not going to be like crazy in depth in regards to this man scored this many points and this guy scored this many points in that specific game, whatnot. I will give you the best of my knowledge in regards to the fact that I watch literally every single game. So I think I have a pretty good idea of what I'm talking about. Obviously, I've actually only gotten one incorrect tip the entire final series, and that was my team, the Titans. And literally, I would have been right for every single tip this final series if the Titans had known how to pass that ball. But in the same sense, we're not going to go about that 79th minute, buddy, how you going 95-meter or run away. But overall, I've had a very good final series, and I've been told that I'm stupid many times. I've been told that biased many times. I've been told there's no way this is going to happen. There's no way the Rabbitohs are going to beat the Panthers. I'm like, I think the Rabbitohs will beat the Panthers in that first game, but I think, well, I shouldn't get into the next part. But I did say 3 weeks ago that I think the Rabbitohs would win that game, and then 3 weeks ago I said the Panthers would win this game. Things can change in that 3 weeks time span. No one believed me when I said the Panthers would beat the Storm. So there's been a lot of Rabbitohs 13 plus. There's been a lot of times where people have doubted this final series, but I have pulled through pretty well here, which has been pretty good. But I am going to go through the lineups of the two teams, who's in, who's out. I'm going to give you my opinion, and then we're also going to go to the chat, and we're going to ask you guys some questions. Well, you're going to ask me some questions, sorry. You guys are going to ask me some questions, and then I'll shoot it back, and we'll probably be here for about 20 minutes or so, 25 minutes. I have no idea. Usually we're here for like half an hour to an hour. When it's the full season, we have 8 games to go through. We're here for an hour, but now, I don't know. I don't know. But hit that thumbs up button if you haven't already, guys. Subscribe if you're new around here. And don't forget, obviously, we will be streaming the game on Sunday. We will be here right in this spot with you guys streaming the big NRL Grand Final this weekend. But here we go, guys. We are here for the NRL Grand Final tip, and it is the Penrith Panthers going up against the South Sydney Rabbitohs. Now, pre-season, this is the Grand Final that I did call as well. I did say the Panthers would actually finish in the season as number 1 spot on the regular season, and Rabbitohs in number 2. Although Panthers finished 2nd and Rabbitohs finished 3rd, pretty good there, but this was my Grand Final pre-season. Now, the Panthers obviously come into this game at $1.68, Rabbitohs at $2.25. Panthers came 2nd and 3rd, like I just said. Now, let's go through these team lineups here, and then we'll go, actually, you know what? Let's go back to the previous game between these two. Let's go back and have a look at the previous game between them before we get into the team lineups here, because obviously it wouldn't really make a great deal of sense if we just went straight into this one without the previous games. I know that a couple of weeks ago, obviously, the Rabbitohs did win 16-10 in the final. Before that, I think it was 25. I don't even know why I'm getting this up when I know I watched it. But it was 25-12, I think, to the Penrith Panthers the time before that. And obviously, back early days, it was 56-12 to the Penrith Panthers. Now, look, if you're a believer of this stupid 50-point stat, well, I hope you... honestly, I don't care who wins this week in regards to this, because if the Rabbitohs win, they get rid of every single annoying little human who utilizes this really ridiculously stupid 50-point stat. The Knights conceded 49 points to the Sharks in 2001 and went on to win the competition, right? The Rabbitohs have conceded 50 points twice this year. Now, do I think Rabbitohs win? You'll have to wait and see. But I kind of want them to win. I've been wanting them to win since they conceded 50. You guys know I've been backing them in all halfway through the season, all the way through the season, when no one gave them a chance halfway through when they lost 50-0 to the Storm and 56 points to Panthers and whatnot. But, it's going to be, it's one of those stats that are really annoying, because everyone thinks they're the first person to say it, and it's ridiculous, because the Knights conceded 49 and won it. But, let's go through the team lineups here. For the Panthers, we've got Dylan Edwards as their fullback, with Stephen Crichton and Bryant O on the wings. Obviously, Bryant O did win as one of the wingers of the 2021 season for the Dally M. Momorowski and Matt Burton in the centres. Burton, controversially, was one of the centres of the year too. However, still fantastic centre this year, with Jerome Luai and Nathan Cleary in the halves. Nathan Cleary coming 2nd in the Dally M race and also getting halfback of the year. We move into the front row forwards. Moses Leota back, very underrated player there as a front row forward with James Fisher-Harris, who was front row forward of the year as well. At beside Corsau as the number 9 with Viliami Kikau and Kurt Catewell in the second row. Viliami Kikau picking up one of the second rowers of the year, controversially too. But I love Viliami Kikau, Tosso Viti, and Isaiah Yeo, the lock of the year for the Dally M's. On the interchange, they've got Tyrone May, Scott Sorensen, Spencer Leniu, and Liam Martin, with the reserves being 18th man being Brent Naden, but Mitch Kenny, Jermaine Hopgood, and Charlie Staines are also there as the reserves just in case. The only real changes I can see here is Moses Leota coming back into the starting side. Besides that, literally nothing else changes here. So I just see Tavita Pangai Jr. obviously will not be playing in the grand final, which is unfortunate. We did see him, I can't remember, something to do with his leg. It was his hamstring or something. But unfortunately for Pangai Jr., he does go from the Broncos in a bit of a struggle city to the Panthers, where he looks like he's going to win a grand final, before he goes then to the Bulldogs, where, oh, yikes. So that is has a bit of a situation there, but I hope the big fella does feel better. And, I hope he's able to be mentally strong regarding this, because obviously it is tough to miss the grand final, despite the fact you put in so much effort and so much work in this season to get to this point. And he was actually a crucial part of their team going at the end of the year after he came from the Broncos. Now, let's move over to the Rabbitohs. Their fullbacks, obviously, Blake Taaffe. Latrell Mitchell was suspended for the rest of the season. We all know why. We're not going to get into it. Alex Johnston and Jackson Paulo on the wings, with Dane Gagai and Campbell Graham in the centres. Cody Walker in the number 6. That was obviously the 5'8" of the year at the Dally M's last night. And Adam Reynolds in the 7. The man going to the Brisbane Broncos next year. Can he win it for his last chance here at his home club of the Rabbitohs? Mark Nichols and Tavita Totola as the front row forwards there, and Damien Cook as the number 9. We move into Keon Kolomatangi as the number 11, and Jaden Sewer as the number 12, with Cameron Murray as the lock. Now, a lot of people were saying last night, obviously this is the battle of the locks here in regards to the Dally M's with Isaiah Yeo and Cameron Murray. I think that I want to throw this out there as well in regards to Cameron Murray not winning it. He's a lot more bang in front of your face kind of guy. Yo will get everything done. He'll be not so much bang in front of your face, but he'll get all the small things done, the medium things done, and the big things done. And people don't really recognise Isaiah Yeo for that reason. And that's why I think that he's completely underrated, despite winning the Dally M Lock of the Year. People are still complaining about him winning the Lock of the Year, when I've had him personally as the clear favourite, as the Lock of the Year. But everyone kept saying robbed and clear robbery to Cameron Murray. And I was like, look, Cameron Murray is clearly the second best, and you could still argue he's the best. But Isaiah Yeo is still incredibly underrated, despite winning the Lock of the Year for the Dally M, which I find absolutely ludicrous. Moving into the interchange, we do have the Benji Marshall. Man, would love to see him go out with a win here. Obviously, last grand final he was in was back in 2005 with the West Tigers, where he did beat the Cowboys. Jacob Host with the interchange, Thomas Burgess and Jai Arrow, the ex-Gold Coast Titan there, living it strong there on the bench. Reserve 18th man, Tane Milne, with Patrick Margot, Braden Burns, and Jed Cartwright as the extra reserves there. So, look, I can't see any changes here. I can't see any changes at all to the Rabbitohs team. This is a full-strength team. Now, guys, match officials for this game. Jared Sutton as a referee. Yikes. Dave Munro, touch judge. Todd Smith as the touch judge. And Grant Atkins in the senior review official. But I just sort of go through the match officials there because... it's going to be interesting, eh? It's going to be interesting there. Now, look, the last 10 grand finals, guys. Obviously, last year, Melbourne did beat Penrith 26-20. Now, if you actually go back and have a look at them, majority of them... then, look, they're not exactly the greatest game, right? The last 10 grand finals. In 2011, 24-10, Manly won that one pretty easily over the Warriors. The one after that, in 2012, the Storm won 14-4, and I remember the Storm winning that one pretty convincingly. There's a reason why I'm saying this right now, by the way, guys. The Roosters beat Manly 26-18. Now, that was a robbery of a grand final. However, they still won that relatively convincingly. South beat Canterbury 30-6. It was 10-10, I believe, until the 70th minute, and they just blew them away. But still, that was a domination. Cowboys, Brisbane, we all know about that, 17-16. Cronulla versus the Storm, that was an unbelievable grand final 2016 where they won 14-12, and that went down to the final wire. The worst grand final of all time, or maybe even the second to last year's, but Melbourne versus the Cowboys, 34-6 was a domination. The Roosters over the Storm, I was at the game, 21-6 Roosters win, and there's a vlog on this channel if you want to go and check it out, of me supporting the Roosters at this game, but it was a domination from the Roosters. The Roosters the following year beat the Raiders 14-8 in a thriller, and then last year, obviously, it was 26-20 to the Storm. It looks like it was a close game, but it wasn't a close game. So I think that the reason why I'm utilising this stat is because I want it to be a close game, I really do. I really want this to be a close game. And as much as it really should be a close game, it probably won't be a close game. We don't usually get to see a lot of really close-knit, tight grand finals. That's why 2015 is so highly regarded, and 2016 was so highly regarded, and 2019 was so highly regarded, because every other grand final in this last 10 years, even got probably all the way going back to that Broncos versus Storm game, the 15-8 in 2006, there hasn't really been a crazy, exciting, close grand final. So with my tip, I'm going to be taking the Penrith Panthers here. I'm going to take the Penrith Panthers here by... I'm going to take them by 12 points. I'm going to take them by 12 points, and honestly, I could take them by more, but I'm not going to. I would love to see the Rabbitohs win just for this stupid stat, but people are going to continue to use it next year, in my personal opinion. Yeah, I've got Panthers by 12 here. I just think that they're probably the more convincingly safe side to back here. I think the Rabbitohs, although their defense has greatly improved in this last second half of the season, and I think the Rabbitohs have been simply incredible recently. I did tell you guys that I thought the Rabbitohs would beat the Panthers in that first week and then go on to lose the grand final to the Panthers. This is what I've literally been saying the entire final series, and I'm not going to back away from it now. I just think the Panthers will... I think they'll probably... The thing is, the Rabbitohs are playing here for their last hoorah, unless you guys there believe in Anthony Milford and whoever's coaching the Rabbitohs afterwards. I can't remember his name. But unless you believe in Milford coming into the halves there, or Blake Arf going into the halves alongside Cody Walker, which I disagree with, but it probably is their last hoorah for a little bit here whilst they figure everything out. But the Panthers, if they lose this, that's 2 grand finals in the row they're going to lose. Can they bounce back from that? I just don't think so. I think Nathan Cleary, you go 1 for 1 with the players. We usually do this every week. Dylan Edwards and Blake Taff, I'm taking Dylan Edwards. Stephen Crichton and Johnston, I probably would take Johnston there. Pomorowski and Dane Gagai, I would probably take Dane Gagai. Matt Burton, Campbell Graham, I'd probably take Matt Burton, but Campbell Graham overall. Bryant O, absolutely wallops Jackson Paulo. But now, the thing is that you've seen the wingers and the centres be dominated there by the Rabbitohs, but the fullback, the key position, is a Panther. We go to Jerome Luai versus Cody Walker. I'm taking Cody Walker there, but I'm taking Cleary here over Reynolds quite considerably, and I mean quite considerably. I know that's a shock, but I'm taking Cleary quite considerably there. I think he, by the end of his career, could be the best player ever, truly, if he continues the way he goes. Now, he hasn't exactly been unbelievable of late, but he will step up in this game. Number 9 is Apisai Coruscant over Damien Cook. I would personally go with Damien Cook there, so it's half and half there, but I just think I actually thought I was going to say more Panthers there, to be honest with you, but I just think that with Nathan Cleary being able to direct it around, I don't know. I just think Jerome Luai, he actually impressed me last week compared to previous weeks. I just think that Jerome Luai and Nathan Cleary are going to be really able to cause a ruckus here. And I just think that overall, Fisher Harris and William Kikau, their back row there. Sorry, William Kikau and Kurt Catewell over Jaden Stewart and Kolomatangi. I'm taking both Panthers there. I'm personally taking his IU over Cameron Murray, which is debatable for you guys, but I still agree with it. The front row forwards of Moses Leota and Fisher Harris. I know you're going to have the meme of Mark Nichols here, and I love Marky Nichols, but I'm still taking Leota and Fisher Harris there. And then obviously, so I think the 4-pack is better for the Panthers personally. Looking at the interchange, I would personally take Benji over Tyron May, but I'm probably going to take the likes of Liam Martin, Spencer Leniu, and Scott Sorensen as well. But I do like that Rabbitohs bench either way. But I'm going to take the Panthers here by 12. Now I'm going to go to the chat here, and we're going to talk to you guys. Let us know in the chat. Hit that thumbs up button if you haven't already, and obviously subscribe if you are new around here. But let me know what your thoughts are in the chat right now. Mr. D Book says, Heart with Bunnies with Reynolds, Benji and Bennett leaving. Good send-off, but BKR saying Panthers, who can argue against him? Well, I am in red-hot form right now, but this is the thing. It's dangerous. It's dangerous to listen to my red-hot form right now because obviously I believe I'm right here. I've been right throughout the entire final series, but there is also that sinking feeling in the back of the head like this is the grand final. Like literally anyone can win it. There's a reason why both these teams are here right now. All these stats, this is the grand final. Every single one of these stats that I've just mentioned could be null and void. It could be completely useless, right? But this is what we've got going into the grand final. So, my heart, I actually do want the Rabbitohs to win this. I do want them to win it, but I don't think they do. I think the Panthers are going to be too good here. Sebastian Grammer says, well, this will affect the Storm rating in Rugby League Live 5. Yanni Mavridis, what? Probably not. Yanni Mavridis says the Panthers have been very fired up, especially after what happened in last year's grand final. Yes, and I know about the story about this Storm, but the thing is as well is that you don't look at the fact that they beat the Storm and say they've won the grand final. And although I said that I thought the grand final winners would come from that game, I don't look at the fact that it was the Storm they beat. Because we saw that the year before with the Raiders and the Roosters, actually, where the Raiders got knocked out in the grand final by the Roosters in 2019. Controversial, Mr. Yanni. I know you know all about that, Mr. Roosters fan. But 2020, they obviously played again, and the Raiders, they won their grand final. But that grand final wasn't the grand final. That grand final was getting their revenge over the Roosters, and that's exactly what they did. They knocked him out, and then they went on the following week to get absolutely flogged by the Storm in that ambush in the preliminary final. So that was last year. Storm went on to win that grand final. But the Raiders won their grand final, but their grand final was not the grand final. And that's the thing with this one, is that the Panthers won their grand final, arguably against the Storm there, but now they're in the actual grand final here. Can they get the job done again? Which is what they did actually a few weeks ago with the 25-12 win, but they did lose 16-10 just a couple of weeks ago as well. 16-10 to the Rabbitohs. Jack says, I'll go Rabbitohs 18-14, Reynolds, Clive, Churchill. I'm going to have to go with Cleary here. There's no way that anyone from the Panthers will get it if it's not. Like, it's similar with Thurston in 2015. Like, there's no way Thurston arguably deserved that. Not Dally M, Clive Churchill. He didn't have a great game, but overall, it is Jonathan Thurston, is the big name factor. There was no surprises that he won it. I personally believe that there was actually a couple of other players that probably could have got it, but I think that Nathan Cleary does get the Clive Churchill there. Felicity says, I think after losing losing last year's grand final, the Panthers got fired up after getting so close last year to ending the Panthers' grand final drought. I would normally agree, but like I said, the Raiders were similar last year. The Raiders were similar last year in this respect. Jope Tuivanga says, what do you think of Turbo winning the Dally M? I think it's fair enough. I just don't disagree with it whatsoever. I thought that Cleary might have got a few more points towards the end of the season, but I agree with him not getting any points in the Dragons game. So no, I think that realistically it came down to the fact that two guys who were injured throughout the season, and Turbo was able to outlast him in the final rounds there. So, no, I think that Turbo, obviously this is one of those special years. I don't think it's as good as Jared Haynes' 2009, but I do think it's better than Ben Barber's 2012, and Ben Barber's 2012 was pretty special. But obviously, the thing with Jared Haynes and Ben Barber was that they both got their team to the grand final. Bulldogs' team was a little bit better. Manly's team was being pretty good. So that's the thing. Like, Manly and Bulldogs, at the time of the Bulldogs in 2012, were pretty good back then. Manly's team outside of Trebojevic is still pretty good that people forget about, but 2009 Parramatta team were terrible. They were like last with like half the season to go, and they got to the grand final because Jared Haynes literally pulled that entire team. So Jared Haynes still has the best individual season without a doubt, but this was an unbelievable year from Trebojevic, and he definitely deserved it. Casey Barich says, I thought the same thing with Cam Smith in 2020, but Pappenhausen got it. Yeah, to be fair, that is a good point there, Casey. That is a good point. There is the opportunity of someone stealing it, and even though I think that Pappenhausen did deserve it, that is a good point. So look, I'm still taking Cleary, but I think if Panthers win, it has to be Cleary or Luai. I don't think Apisai Kotosau will get it, and I don't think Dylan Edwards is electric special enough to be able to show himself off enough to win it over the likes of a Cleary or a Jerome Luai or a Apisai Kotosau. I think it would realistically have to come from the 6, 7 or 9, and I'm going to go with the 7, and then I'll probably actually go with Jerome Luai over Apisai Kotosau, but that's not really a surprise. For the Rabbitohs, if the Rabbitohs are to win it, I would probably go with I'd probably go with Damien Cook. I think he'd have to have a pretty big game here for the Rabbitohs. Or it could be Adam Reynolds, but I'd probably lean with Damien Cook there as the hooker. Hamish Inglis says, South by 2, 16-18. Would love to see it, man. Would love to see a close game here. Jack says, Selwyn Cobbo, 2022 top try scorer. And this guy's an alcoholic. Malcolm says, I think Bunnies will win. Don't know why you guys think Panthers too strong. Well, mainly because they've made 2 grand finals in a row now, mate. Mainly because they are a fantastic team. And mainly because they beat the Rabbitohs twice this year. Yes, they lost a couple of weeks ago, but they also beat them by 56-12 at one stage. They also beat them 25-12 a few weeks before the finals, and they came second this year, equal first with the Melbourne Storm, and are coming off the back of a win against the best team in the competition, clearly because they won the minor premiership, and also because they are the current champions from last year. So it's like, I'm not too sure what the kind of, like, why we're too confident. Of course we're confident in this team. Do I think the Rabbitohs can win? Absolutely. This is the grand final. Legitimately, anyone who's in the grand final can win the grand final, but I'm very confident in my tip, and I'd be even if I tip the Rabbitohs, I could give you a stellar argument for the Rabbitohs. I could easily, argue how the Rabbitohs are going to win, but there's a reason why the Panthers are favourites here. There's a reason why they finished above the Rabbitohs this year on the table. There's a reason why they've beaten them 2 out of 3 times this year. There's a reason why their player was higher in regards to... Actually, did they even have a single player? Oh, Cody Walker was there, but he dropped off pretty quickly. I'm not insulting the Rabbitohs here, and don't force me to insult the Rabbitohs here, but I'm just saying, there's a reason why people are confident, man. And people have doubted me in regards to my tips all throughout this final series, and I've gotten one wrong, and it was down to a lackluster pass, because I would have taken Manly against the Titans, so I would have been 100% throughout this record until the grand final. Dasmate says, I thought it would have been Smith last year because it was his last game. Yeah, well, obviously we saw Thurston, we shouldn't have, but overall. The Dingo says, Stephen Crichton is my guest for the club. Churchill, thoughts? Crichton on the wing. I don't think we're going to see a winger get it. I don't think we'll personally get a winger getting it here. We'll stick around for 10 more minutes, guys. This is a grand final stream. We may as well kick back. There's nothing else on tonight, so we may as well kick back and have a chat with you guys. But it's going to be a big weekend this weekend on BKRsport 2. We've got both the rugby games on Saturday between the All Blacks and the South Africans. We've got the Australians versus the Argentinians. We do have plenty of NFL action. We've got. I'm feeling a lot better now, so I'll be able to do those NFL streams now. I was quite ill after getting the vax. Well, not ill, just really tired. So I wasn't able to do that, but we've got a massive amount of streams on this week, which is going to be good. Felicity Holland says, do you think anyone would be able to overshadow Cam Smith, JT, Cooper Cronk and Billy as the big four in Origin and in regular club playing? Ever is a long time is what I'll say to this. Ever is a long time. Right now, I can't see it because I don't know anyone who could be... No one in this current group would be able to do it. There's no way. Billy Slater is the best fullback of all time. The number 6 in... when you got Cooper Cronk and JT there. No, not now. And Cameron Smith is arguably the best player of all time, if not one of the best players of all time, and is the best hooker of all time, without a doubt. So, no, at this current stage, I can't see it, but ever's a long time. I'm going to be dead in 400 years, and hopefully rugby league is still cracking on. I doubt it. Anyway, we're not going to get into that kind of stuff. Mango, but yeah, no, it'd be awesome. It'd be awesome to see, but I don't think right now that anyone in this current group could overtake those 4. No. As a collective. Jack says, I know you're going Panthers to win, but surely Rabbitohs would have to be favourites. Can't ignore how well they've been playing. No, Rabbitohs are absolutely not favourites. There's no surely they're favourites. Why is surely they're favourites? Why would they be surely favourites? The Panthers have beaten 2 out of 3 times this year. They finished higher on the table than them this year. The Panthers are coming off the back of beating the Storm. Manly Seagulls aren't a team that I was looking at. No one listened to Blazy. They are a team that cannot beat a top 4 team. People give me these bullshit excuses saying, oh, look, they beat the Eels that time in the top 4. The Eels were in the top 4 then. Yeah, cool, they finished 6th place. The Roosters, they finished in 5th place. The Roosters were a team with a lot of doubts this year. I'm not here to insult Manly, but I'm just saying, the Rabbitohs have come through an easier section. Now, they did beat the Panthers, but the Rabbitohs have come through an easier section here. The Panthers going through the Eels was a very tough game for them. It was a very tough game, and no one likes to believe in the Panthers. I don't know what it is. Why does no one like to believe in this Panthers team? This is the 2nd grand final in a row. What is there not to prove here? What else do you need proven here? This is their 2nd grand final in a row. The last time they got ambushed by a Storm team who just went out to a massive start, and the Panthers came home strong in the last 15 minutes there and only lost by 6 and actually had a chance to equalise in the last seconds of the game. Not that it happened, and it was one of the worst grand finals you'll ever watch, but this Rabbitohs team isn't going to ambush. I don't personally believe it can change. Obviously, it can happen. Anything can happen in a grand final. I don't personally believe it'll happen. But this team is not going to ambush this team, who is the best defensive team in the competition, versus the best attacking team in the competition. Best defense, best attack. You go and have a look at any game across history in big-time games, whether it be the Super Bowl, whether it be the Champions League final, whether it be the NRL, usually you're going to see defense win the game. Go have a look at that 2016 Grand Final. 2016 Grand Final between the Sharks and Storm. Storm were very hot favourites there. The Sharks hadn't won a comp in 50 years' time. The Sharks had the best defense and the Storm had the best attack. Look who won, right? It was a great defensive game. Defense wins championships. This team has a fantastic defense. They have the number 1 defense in the comp, and this team has the number 1 attack in the comp. But this team has probably the number 2 attack in the comp, and this team, I would say, probably would be about 4th or 5th. I would say probably 4th. I'd still go top 4, but if you do the math there, I've got them 1st and 2nd, and I've got them 1st and 4th, and I'm taking the defense over the attack. However, Anything can happen here. I will reiterate that. Dingo says, do you think the Rabbitohs should start tough at fullback next year and move Latrell to the centres in place? No way. No way. No way. I think that Latrell is a much better fullback than Tough. I think Tough's fine, but they're talking about putting Tough into the halves. I don't really get it. I think Milford and Cody Walker will work quite well there at the Rabbitohs. So no, not for me. I would keep Latrell. Yeah, I think Latrell is the best centre in the game when he's playing centre. I think he's literally the best centre in the game. But overall, no, I'm keeping Latrell as a fullback there. Warriors NRL Fanatic says Penrith have the best defense. Absolutely, Penrith have the best defense, and that's why I'm saying Panthers. And I wouldn't be surprised if Panthers 13 plus, but I'm not going to take Panthers 13 plus here. I'm not going to do it. I refuse. But I will take them 1 to 12. I will take them by 12 points. Sachin Kelton says Marky Nichols should win the Clive Churchill medal just because he's Marky Nichols. I do like that. That is a good call. Twicken says Penrith better not make me shit myself like in the last 2 games. I don't have any more clean undies. It'll probably be close though. I think this is... Look, if I'm going to compare this to a grand final of recent note, I would probably say this grand final will compare very similarly with the Manly versus the Warriors grand final 2011, I would say. I would say if I'm going to compare it, and like obviously I actually personally believe both these teams are better. But then again, it's a different game. It's a different game. But I would say this game, the Warriors had a very good attack back then, and their defense was decent. Manly had good attack and good defense back in 2011, and I'd say Manly probably the Panthers here, and I'd say the Warriors were probably the Rabbitohs here because the Warriors were looking the goods there, but obviously the Manly were the favourites. I think that's a good comparison, to be completely honest with you. Mango said it's well known that defense wins you games. Absolutely, but people don't like to listen to it because obviously a lot of people watch games here or there. They watch one game here, they watch their team, and that's it, right? And they think they can look at stats, and their stats are going to tell you a story, right? I look at stats, but I don't really give a shit too much. I notice them, and I weigh it into my argument, but I watch every single game. Not everyone has the time to watch every single game. I think I've missed maybe... Geez, I don't even know how... I would have missed a couple when I was vlogging, but that was because I was vlogging. But when I'm streaming, I'm literally here for every single one. So, I have a decent gather about what's going on in the competition. Felicity says, yeah, I tip Penrith because not only do they have the youngest side in the comp, they also have the best defense, and half the Rabbits are all old geezers. It depends on how you think of that, though. Experience is very good, too. You do need experience, and Panthers have the experience of the grand final last year. The Rabbitohs do have relative experience in the fact that they've lost 3 preliminary finals in a row, so that is as good as a grand final for me. It's not as good, but it's equivalent-ish. I don't really mind. The fact that they've gotten through that game against the Manly Seagulls in that prelim was a good sign, but in the same sense, I think they've got the experience through their preliminary final losses to argue it for the grand final. Just like even if the Titans hadn't made the 8 this year, I would have utilised that Knights game where they lost 15-14 before they still ended up making the finals, but I would have utilised that game as experience, just like I would utilise the preliminary final of the last 3 years for Rabbitohs as the experience for the grand final. George's Adam Batzer says, do you think Alex Johnson gets a try to make it 30 tries this season? What did I say? I'll go to... what would my scoreline be? Because I don't think the Rabbitohs score a great deal here. I think if anyone's going to score, you'd have to go with Johnston. You'd have to go with Johnston here if anyone's going to score. So Johnston... I'll go... yeah, you may as well, because there's no guarantee of anyone, realistically, and their forwards, the Panthers forwards are better. So I think Keon Kalamatangi could actually score in this game, but I'd probably go Keon Kalamatangi and Alex Johnson for a couple of tries, couple of magpies there. Twicken says, Penrith haven't smashed any team in a little while now. Recent games have been tight. Yeah, but look at who they've been playing. You know, they played the Eels. They played the Eels, and they played the Eels, and they played Manly. The Panthers have played Eels and the Storm, right? Rabbitohs have played Manly, who get beaten considerably by all the good teams, and they've also what's the point here? The Panthers have had a tougher run to get to this final. I get they lost that one game, but it doesn't mean they haven't lost this grand final because they lost one game. Jordan Southern Buster says this is the grand final everyone had at the start of the season. Wrong. No, it is not. That's a lie. There is no way that everyone said this. You know why? Because yet again, and I'm going to say this, I'm not having to go at you here, George, but I'm just saying, absolutely incorrect, because I know that majority of the rugby league community, especially on YouTube and especially on content creation, social media, whatnot, I know everyone had the Panthers wrapped in as a team that would not be able to surprise anymore, would not be able to go the distance again, and would fall apart. Most people had the Storm versus the Rabbitohs, or the Storm versus the Roosters. Not a great deal actually had the Panthers here, and not a great deal actually said the Rabbitohs too. They said the Rabbitohs would be good and the Panthers would be okay. Majority of people tipped the Panthers in 5th or 4th this year. I can tell you that for a fact, and you can go and have a look at pretty much everyone. Majority did, and I was a shock to put the Panthers still as number 1 because I didn't understand why the criticism was coming for the Panthers in that factor. I didn't get it. It was like, we looked at that final series last year and said they're not going to win this grand final because they don't have the experience. And they still got through the finals. They got to the grand final and then lost because of the experience. So they got the experience. So why are they now regressing because of the no surprise factor part? You know what I'm saying? Like, it didn't make any sense to me why everyone was saying this, but no one will admit this to you, but I've been saying this throughout the entire year right now, and I've been referring back to them because I know that people, they jump on hype trains. Hype trains are a factor. Everyone always listens to what he has to say, what he has to say, what he has to say. I appreciate everyone here, I appreciate everyone, but I don't really get involved in that hype train. I don't care about the hype train. Like, I've got an opinion. If I'm wrong, I'll stand by my opinion and I'll stand by being wrong. But this is why I don't get caught up in saying Manly's going to win 13 plus against the Rabbitohs like everybody else was saying. You know, this is why I don't get caught up in saying that the Storm are going to win 13 plus against the Panthers, because I don't care what everyone else is saying. I have an opinion. I'll look at what you're saying, but in the same sense, I still have my opinion that from my game. So, no, not many people had Panthers actually to win the grand final as much as they would like you to believe. Warriors NRL Fanatic says, yeah, I actually had Penrith below the top 4, which turned out to be a shocking prediction. Yeah, but in the same sense, man, everyone had the Raiders in the top 5. I think I had Raiders 5th. I think I had Eels 6th, which is exactly where they came, but I think I had Raiders 5th. I think a lot of people actually had Raiders 1st and 2nd, which was great. I thought that was wild. I got flack for saying the Raiders were going to be so low at 5th, and they obviously came 10th. 9th or 10th. I think it was 10th because the Sharks came 9th. You know, yeah, everyone's got shocking predictions, but I just didn't get the Panthers downwards trajectory. I didn't get that at all. Jay Curses, let's go Penrith fans. Stand up, get your money on Nathan Clive Churchill. This is our time. George Dunbarton says, who you tipping for the grand final? Well, this is what this entire stream has been talking about, Georges. Yanni Mavita says, let's say Penrith lose this grand final. Do you reckon their premiership window is closed? No way closed. It'll make it a lot tougher. It'll make it a lot tougher to get through. But no, I don't think their premiership window will be closed. I think that they'll still have a good 3-5 years, like truly, unless things drastically change there. Just because losing a grand final, it still keeps you there. I don't know if I would tip them in first next year. I don't know. I think the drive would still be there, but there's a lingering feeling. This is what I said. This is what I said actually last year at the grand final. If you go back in my I think it was my NRL Grand Final tipping video, because I didn't do streams really back then for the tipping, but for my NRL tipping video for the grand final, I said if Panthers, or maybe it was the review, I said the Panthers for me are going to win this grand final this year. This is what I said last year. But if they did lose this grand final this year, I said it was against the Storm at the time though, but if they did lose the grand final this year, that I didn't see them winning it in the near future. And I would back that in because there was that lingering feeling like, can we actually get above that next hurdle? Because winning a preliminary final, winning a grand final is two completely different things. And obviously winning, 19 games in a row, 15 games in a row, 16, I don't even know how many games they won in a row last year. This is why I tell Penrith fans, pipe it down. Don't give us the attitude, don't give us the shit talk, because you haven't won anything in 18 years. If you win this week, then you can be arrogant as much as you want, because at least you've won. But you're still not the Storm or the Roosters who are consistently at this level. You've been around for 2 years, and like I said, you haven't won in 18 years. But overall, it will give them a bit more of a backing in regards to their arrogance that they've been showing this year, which has been debatable. Zempire says, can't answer that question. TSM says, Cleary is going to have a grand final game. Yep, that's usually what happens in a grand final. They do usually play. The best players do usually play. Nathan Cleary will be in the grand final. I'm going to answer 5 more questions, guys, and then I'm going to jump off. TSM, no, I've already read that one. Marcel Moose says, do you think the Storm will be a good team next year? Storm are always going to be a good team until Craig Bellamy goes. Craig Bellamy's still there next year, and Craig Bellamy and the Storm will be a fantastic team next year. If Craig Bellamy's not there next year, then unfortunately, I don't see the Storm being as successful, but they still will be a top 8 team, probably top 6 team. I'd say top 6. If Craig Bellamy goes, I would say it would be a downward trajectory. I'd say top 6. I'd probably say 5th, because I do have a couple other teams there. But that's obviously Craig Bellamy's still there, so it doesn't really matter. This is all null and void. That's all null and void. Twicken says, "No, I heard they're resting Cleary." Yeah, they are resting Cleary. Zampire says, "Wait, so you're not sure if Melbourne have lost their premiership chances short term?" No, I'm not answering that question because you said Storm with an S at the end. But not Melbourne lost their premiership chances short term. No, the Storm still they always have a chance. Just because they won the grand final last year. They've won, 4 grand finals in the last 10 years? No. They won in 2000 no, actually, geez. When they won the grand final in 2020, they won it back in 2017. They won 2 grand finals in the last 5 years. So, you know what I'm saying? Like, a little bit over the top there, thinking that they're out of their premiership window. So 4 more comments here. Jack says 2 consecutive grand final losses could break the Panthers. They could really start doubting themselves. Well, this is what I'm saying. The lingering feeling will be around there. You know, the lingering feeling will really prevent this team from potentially taking that next step, which is the massive problem for me there. By the way, guys, hit that thumbs up button if you haven't already, and obviously subscribe if you are new around here. Zampire says Storm did have a slumber after 2012 until 2016. I don't remember even what they were doing then. 2014, yeah, but in the same sense, like this is the Storm we're talking about. This is a team. You're having a crack at a team that went through a slumber for 3 years and then went into the grand final in 2016 and then went and won the grand final in 2017. You know, and before that they won the grand final in 2012 against the Dogs. So, like, what? They're not allowed to have a couple of off years. They're not allowed to have a couple of off years. Jamie Robinson says, "Bellamy, did you say they definitely missed Cam's composure?" Oh, no, it was obvious. It was very obvious they missed Cam's composure there. Mustard Cat says, "Roosters still a chance after losing Brett and Josh Morris, Jake Friend and Boyd Cordner." Absolutely. The Roosters will get back Luke Keary. They will obviously, I don't know who goes as their hooker, but they've got plenty of money if they really want to, man. We all know they've got the old brown paper bags. They have the old sombrero at the Roosters, so there's still plenty of opportunity for the Roosters to get back into it, and they've still got a cracking team. But I think they're starting to become a little bit overrated in regards to the way that people are talking about them in regards to next year, because they do have the retirements, like you've just said, but they do still have a quality team, and they'll still be. I think people are being unrealistic saying that they're a first or second top team. I think they're a potential top 4. I'd say definitely top 6, but like I don't have them top 2, which I find crazy that people are suggesting. But you know, that's just my opinion. But that's my early prediction here. Like, I'm not doing a prediction video. I get people asking me to do a preseason prediction video 2 weeks ago, and I'm like, mate, like, can we watch the rest of this season first before we start talking about the preseason preview of next season? Twicken says 3 is the magic number for Penrith. They won in 03, and this is the 30th anniversary since their first premiership. Their first premiership 30 years ago, so 2021. Was it 1991? Yeah, 1991 their first premiership? But yeah, look, that's look, I don't think that's got anything to do with anything, but yeah, it's still cool. But yeah, 1991. Warriors NRL Fanatic says, "Where do you see the Warriors finishing next year?" Warriors finishing next year. If the fact of the matter is that they're still stuck in Australia, and I think that the Warriors are an okay team, but in the same sense, I think they would have pushed for the top 8 this year if they had have been in their own home ground of New Zealand. But unfortunately, I do probably have them in a similar position. I know you're not going to like that. I know Warriors fans aren't going to like that, but unless things change drastically, they're still in the very same situation that they're in this year, where I thought they had a decent team, but unfortunately, I think they're going to be away from home still, you know, and it's just going to, that's why Gus Gould had to leave the Warriors, unfortunately. That's why Gus Gould had to leave the Warriors, so, because there's just no stability in that club at the moment, and it's sad, but in the same sense, we are probably on the trajectory away, and we have seen Moana Pacifica will be using that stadium, Mount Smart Stadium, as their home ground next year, so I don't believe that the Warriors could actually go back now as a consistency for next year, regardless of any kind of changes, I don't believe, but I think it saves them money as well, but unfortunately, I don't have the Warriors doing too well next year. Bay Area Buggy Boo says, "Do you think the grand final should be hosted in another city than Sydney, like Brisbane, Perth, and Melbourne? Why Perth? Why would a grand final be Perth?" So, let's assume the Gold Coast Titans play the New Zealand Warriors in the grand final. You're expecting people from New Zealand and the Gold Coast to fly all the way over to Perth? There's not even a team in Perth. Why would we have the grand final in Perth? You know, it's like Melbourne. Like, Sydney is the centre, right? Sydney is above Victoria, below Queensland teams, and to the left of New Zealand team. Well, however you want to think, left of New Zealand team, right? So it makes the greatest sense, and it's also got the biggest stadium, and the MCG and Optus suck for NRL. They're fantastic stadiums for AFL and cricket, but that MCG is horrific when it comes to watching rugby league. I've been to many Origins there. It sucks. The MCG sucks when it comes to rugby league, but it's awesome when it comes to AFL and cricket. So, no, I absolutely disagree with this whatsoever. Okay, so 2 more questions. I know I've gone over, but I'll go 2 more questions. Georgia Son of Buster says, I'm feeling no matter who wins, Cody or Nathan won't get the Clive Churchill. Well, why? Jamie Robertson, that's just a baseless statement. Jamie Robertson says, contract for the next 20 years in Sydney. That's great, but it's currently not there, is it? It's currently not there, is it, right now? Jack says, even as a neutral fan, I was excited for the Warriors versus Bulldogs game. That was meant to be in New Zealand. I was too. I was excited as I was telling everyone that was the one game that I backed the Warriors into absolutely guaranteed win that game. Not just because the Dogs were shocking and are shocking, but because the Dogs the Warriors would have had their first home game in front of a home crowd. They could have played the Panthers or the Storm and they probably still would have won that game, the Warriors, in front of their home crowd for their first game back, because it just would have been that kind of moment. But unfortunately, that was not to be. All right, one last one here. Jordan says, wouldn't mind a grand final in Brisbane, nothing like a pack Suncorp. Absolutely, I agree. But in the same sense, it would be much better if it was a Queensland team in Brisbane. I honestly believe, and you can't really do it, you can't really do this, but like the A-League has a good setup in regards to the highest ranked team getting the grand final at the end of the finals, and then they book it in, but you can't really do that with the NRL. But that's awesome where the A-League, where, say, for example, Adelaide get first place and win the final series, they get to host the grand final, or say Brisbane Roar, they get it at Suncorp or Redcliffe or whatnot. So I would love it that way, but you can't do that with this sport. It's so different. It is so different. But overall, that is the greatest. That is the greatest system, personally. But guys, I'm going to jump off for now. I do appreciate you as per usual. We're 7 likes away from 50. Smack the thumbs up button. Subscribe if you're new around here. We are going to be streaming a lot this weekend. Don't forget the Rugby Down Under podcast will be coming out tomorrow, 5 p.m. on Spotify. Also, go and check out the Rugby Down Under podcast YouTube channel. I think we're on 339 subscribers now, something like that. Let's get to 350 tonight. Appreciate you as always. This weekend, we've got the NFL. We've got my schedule coming out tomorrow, but we've got the NFL on Friday. Plus, we've also got on Saturday, we've got the 2 rugby games between All Blacks and South Africa and Australia and the Argentinians. Premier League on at midnight, followed by the... on Sunday, we do have... Actually, I've got it right in front of me here, actually. On Sunday, we do have... We're going to do Queensland Cup this weekend, by the way, guys. We are going to do the preliminary finals of the Wynnum Manly Seagulls versus Tweedhead Seagulls and North Devils versus Burleigh Bears game. So we're going to do that on Sunday because there is nothing else on the Sunday during the day before the Panthers versus Rabbitohs game in the grand final at night. We'll do some Premier League games at night with the NFL Red Zone on Monday, and I haven't decided what we're doing Tuesday yet, but that is the current schedule for this weekend. I appreciate you, and I will see you guys next time. Alrighty, guys, thanks for watching. Get around the Panthers this weekend if you want to win your tip. I don't know how I'm getting around the Panthers, but I would love to see the Rabbits win too. But appreciate you. See you next time. Thanks for watching. Catch you later. See ya.